So guys, we're here with my personal car, 2024 Ford Mustang Dark Horse. And just like you, I'm buying every part and component from our Carvonix shop. I'm gonna get a Whipple Supercharger, I got I-block lowering springs, I'm gonna do a resonator delete, and I've got some APR carbon down the way. So follow me on the journey. I'm gonna do it just like you guys do. I'm gonna document everything, I'm gonna review it, post my mods on my car, and just like that, you'll see this thing transform. But right now, we've got over 300,000 parts in the Carvonix shop. And just like that, every single part comes with a reward system for Carvonix through our app. So buy your parts today, get points, redeem them for entries and giveaways, get merch, or just get discounts on parts. So I'm going to document the entire process from start to finish, from unboxing to install to giving a review, and then even throwing this thing on a dyno, and all that's going to happen on the Carvonix app. Follow me in my profile and check out the Dark Horse in my garage. Hey guys, it's part 2 of the Mustang Dark Horse build. I've got a set of Kooks headers going on with the Greencats, as well as some BMR subframe strengthening components. All right guys, so Nico and I are talking. You know, we're doing the headers on the car because we're going to be supercharging it. So Nico, just what's your opinion on headers as you're doing all these McLarens that are all turbo cars? There's a NA car, another NA car, and you have just all these different vehicles. You know, the insight into, do headers work? Do they matter? You know, give me your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, like obviously, like with headers, you know, from the factory, they're just kind of trying to like get them to like fit in a certain area and be as most efficient. So they're always worried about like fuel economy and everything like that. But when you go with aftermarket headers, obviously everyone will be like equal length. You know, like you're either going 4-to-1, 2-to-1, like all these different numbers that everybody has to get them to go in. So on a naturally aspirated like vehicle, yes, it does. You know, you'll see different designs of headers, and like some will get better mid-range, some get better top range, you know, like some get more torque, some get more horsepower, and it all is basically like flow characteristics. And to be honest with you, like it does take a couple like revisions. Sometimes you'll do like a setup and it didn't really make a power gain, and then all of a sudden you kind of like change like the rudder length or something like that, and then all of a sudden like, you know, the car's making more power. You can't, every engine like is different, so you know, you can't just take one setup and say, hey, it worked on this motor and it's going to work on another motor. So there is like different like flow characteristics, the way that the firing order all works, you know, that basically dictates like what the, you know, what's going to be the best setup. Obviously, once you go anything like that's boosted, you know, the most important is like, you know, there'll be like with turbo cars, people will talk about log style manifolds versus equal length manifolds. And I've seen, you know, not really that much of a difference. You know, in the end, it's always like, you know, flow, which then, you know, you worry about like catalytic converters. You know, when you do like an OEM car, you know, you'll have like a 900 cell, you know, it's all for emissions and stuff like that. And what that does is when there's boost and there's, you know, you just want like it to flow out as fast as possible. You know, that'll help with spool characteristics and everything like that. So imagine, you know, like blowing through a small straw versus a big, you know, like a bigger straw, you get like more air through it. So it's kind of like how the catalytic converter will kind of work also. So a 900 cell, you're not gonna be able to get as much air through there, which it will start affecting some of the power and spool. As you go smaller and smaller with the catalytic converter, you know, you'll get more flow, more power. So on a boosted car, the most important thing is flow, and you just want to be able to get the air out as fast as possible. So that will be your biggest power gains. But also I've seen now with the 200 cell versus a Catless setup, like no cats, there's not even, you know, maybe a 10 horsepower difference. Like they've gotten like really good with these catalytic converters where they flow really well also. So it's nice that you have the cats.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. You know, Kooks was basically raving about these green cell cats. If you look at them, they're not that tightly wound in there. There's a lot
it's like that honeycomb in there. It's like you'll see the flow that will be able to come through it. But yeah, I mean, it's cool because you have the cats. It's good for emissions and stuff like that. Emissions compliant and stuff. So you can drive this car, not have any problems. Go, you know, you know, every year for emissions and you'll pass. So that's the cool thing too. You know, it's like, obviously if you have a race car, it's different, you know, like you just don't want that in there, but a car you can drive every day on the street, this is an awesome mod. You're still compliant, you can still drive it everywhere, and I think there's not that much of a horsepower decrease. So.
As you can see, exhaust is off. Getting the headers on a little easier, just kind of get all this stuff out of the way. Again, because we put that H-pipe on, made it a little bit more challenging to get everything off. So just letting you guys know, all we did was just unscrewed the brackets up there and 2 bolts on each side and slid right back. Way easier now to work. A lot more clearance, a lot more room. And Josh is gonna look at the bolt configuration up there, which is gonna be fun. So guys, a lot of things had to be removed, including this bracket, the entire starter, as well as a ton of bolts. Josh is just now getting it out of there.
That studs out, because that's why the other headers have like those
slips
in it. Make it a lot easier.
So Kooks probably realized the OEM stud is extremely difficult to move around, so we gotta pull it off so we can pull all this clearance out of here. So that's gotta be removed in order to have enough room to put this in. And look, you can see these little slip joints. Gonna make it a lot easier to put this in versus what the OEM had. There she is. So one of the things we were finding is these holes mean that you have to really pull that far out. It's off the studs. You got to pull it that far to have that much clearance to wiggle it was the problem. So it had to take quite a lot of the actual studs out, and now we're free. All right, after much joy of removing the factory part, the new Kooks is going in. See how much easier this is to line up. You can kind of notch it in there. Yeah, sick. Mission. You guys can see what the challenge has been is the studs were hard to get off, just the angles, everything. And then the OEM header has circular holes rather than slotted openings like the Kooks does. So a little bit of a challenge if you guys decide to do this yourself. We've got almost all of these studs out besides the top 3. Now we're just working on getting a gasket in and sliding the thing back in there and getting the right side done. It's been about almost 2 hours just to get this one side off. So be prepared, lots of patience. Get yourself a beer if you're so inclined.
And now, a message from our sponsor.
So again, every part and component that we're putting on this Mustang, we've purchased in our Carvonix shop. I checked Fitment by adding the car to my app, and the app automatically categorized everything available for my vehicle. I found the Kooks headers with the Greencats, and I found all the BMR subframe components. I went ahead and Google searched and checked all the part numbers just to make sure that everything's working correctly. And good news is that the system is working very, very well, and all the parts were the exact part numbers from the manufacturer. All right, guys, day 2 exhaust install. Gonna do a little check-in here. Ooh, what we got? The mid pipe is on, and the headers are on. Any issues with the headers and the cats? Easy, pretty easy.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Once you
it's just mocked up right now, kind of just test fitting everything.
Test fitting. Yeah. So did the extenders come in handy or no? Oh yeah, that actually fits.
Yeah. Well, I don't think this year this model needed it.
So we don't need the extenders. Okay.
It came with extra ones for 2015 plus and 2018 plus.
Right.
But these ones, you know, got plenty of slack already. It doesn't pop off.
Yeah. That's actually that's perfect. Okay, so we don't need them. Okay, so if you got the kit, you don't need the extenders because they fit right up. So now that we got everything on the header, the cat, and the mid-pipe side, it's basically kept it all loose so we can start to straighten it and align it so it sits nicely. All right, so everything's back on, all lined up. Getting ready to do first startup. Here we go, first startup, Kooks headers, MRBP, resonator delete, Dark Horse. Louder. Very loud, oh my God. Woo. Very, very, very loud. Oh, yeah, so you think I'm gonna go to jail or go to jail?
Yeah.
It's pretty loud.
Probably going to jail.
Yeah, probably go to jail. So now that the header's on and we check for leaks, there's no leaks, we are gonna do the BMR subframe bracing, and I'm gonna show you kind of where all that stuff goes. And again, that's just for chassis rigidity on the front and rear subframes where kind of all the stuff is moving, right? With the little control arms, we need the body, and just trying to stiffen things up so I have a little bit better handling. Again, Mustangs aren't super sharp on the actual steering input, so I'm just trying to do everything I can, and also just trying to figure out what's the lowest cost, fastest way to get the car feeling better, sounding better, and driving better. Okay, so
Yeah.
Nico's got the BMR subframe support. Tell me why we want to do something like this.
I mean, basically something like this would just stiffen up the front subframe on your vehicle. So obviously, the more you get chassis flex out of the car, the more driver feedback you get, the more that, you know, the car itself is more rigid. You just feel everything a lot better. And then everything then starts working more through the suspension a little bit more. So you just, like I said, flex just throws everything off a little bit on the car. So basically when we were like building like bridges, you remember in science class, you try to add triangles and stuff like that? Same thing. They're just picking up another point of contact to, you know, two rigid points. And then the subframe in the back part of the subframe just has this opening where it just has some chance to like flex. And then this piece just would go in there, bolt in, and it just stops the flex, you know, to happen on the vehicle.
Nice,
So.
let's go see where it goes.
Yeah, so you basically will see how this is just gonna make the chassis stiffer. So basically this piece slides in here, it's gonna connect to that point, and then basically you're gonna have it over here. So like I said, you're just making a bigger triangle, just stiffening up the chassis. If this piece was built in here before, you would never be able to get the headers out that we just replaced. So removable piece, you're stiffening up the subframe of the car, you can get more rigidity and, you know, better driver feel, you know, when you're taking it on the track.
Awesome. So the great way to kind of understand what I'm doing with this build is somewhere between a Super GT and Super Snake kind of territory if you're a Mustang guy. And the Super Snake is the Shelby factory bolting on a ton of different things, changing the body, putting all the high-end race stuff on, maybe doing a little suspension change. Obviously the magnesium wheels, the high-end brakes. So a lot of the stuff that we're doing now, getting the flow dial with the headers and getting the resonators deleted, and then obviously doing the suspension to lower it. And then obviously this bracing is just really designed so that when we do the supercharger at the 800 plus horsepower setup, the car is manageable. And I think that's the biggest thing that I want to do from a GT standpoint, is making a manageable daily driving car that I can have fun in the canyons with, that's not going to unload mid-corner and unfortunately kill me. So I'm really, really cautious of those things. I've had a lot of high horsepower cars. This would be the highest horsepower car I've ever had to do on the street. And I think from that standpoint, I'm just really trying really hard to not only buy things from our store and figure out, you know, stuff that works together, but also trying to make a good, well-balanced car. So as you guys know, Mustangs are notorious for being crowd surfers, would be the term I would use. And just want to do the best I can to get the steering feel and control back in the car so that the car is manageable. Okay, so now we're working on the BMR rear chassis subframe supports, which are now in. Connecting body to subframe here. We have the secondary mount point from subframe to sway bar. Just add a little bit more rigidity there. Okay, so putting the final bolts in the rear BMR subframe setup, and had some issues with the front. The issues with the front are directly correlated to the Dark Horse. So even BMR site says it'll fit, but it won't fit. So we scrapped the front and we're just doing the rears. So hopefully we get some rigidity out of it, and I'll be looking for a front solution soon. Yeah. Okay, all buttoned up, getting ready to start it up and get out of here. Taking the car to Ford of Auto Nation Scottsdale tomorrow for the Whipple Dark Horse install for 12 hours, supposedly, we'll see. Very loud. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Your neighbor's gonna hate you.
No kidding, dude.
You don't live in HOA.